Steinhoff saga, you're going to tell me, is getting a whole lot bigger. This time investors holding banks responsible in part. I think the word you're going to use is misleading prospectuses, but there's a local hook to all of this.
Yes, indeed. I mean, ABSA is one of 3 banks mentioned by the Dutch Investors Association, and that association has signalled its intent to hold 3 banks related to Steinhoff responsible for losses incurred by investors. This after the share price collapse was triggered in December last year. One of these banks, as I said, is ABSA Bank. The other banks include Commerce Bank and Barclays Bank. VEB says ABSA was responsible for circulating prospectuses to investors that contained false and misleading statements relating to Steinhoff's financial position. Well, Dr. Armand Kersten is the VEB's head of public affairs from the VEB headquarters. He joins us now from The Hague. Dr. Kersten, good afternoon and thanks indeed for joining us.
Good afternoon, delighted to be with you.
Well, perhaps let's start with you giving us more clarity on what this misdemeanor is that you accuse ABSA and the other banks of on the Steinhoff issue.
Yeah, it's if you will, quite simple. Under Dutch case law, it's been firmly established, and I'm particularly referring to the case in World Online, that the banks accompanying the banks for the prospectuses of issuers take a responsibility, a duty of care for the contents of these prospectuses. It is pretty clear that the prospectuses where Steinhoff is concerned are misleading. The reason for that is that they rely on financial statements from the company of which it is now perfectly clear that they have been misleading for the simple reason that they had to be withdrawn. And hence, therefore, we put it that these banks take a responsibility.
So if you pursue a class action suit, I would think the onus would be on ABSA to have to prove that its prospectus was not misleading, as I understand that.
Yeah, that's perfectly correct. This is also settled under the case law that we're looking at. There is a reversal of the burden of proof. Correct.
But ABSA telling us this afternoon, Doctor, that its role was to ensure that the JSE's listing rules were complied with by Steinhoff SA. It says its mandate did not include the compilation or review of the financial statements. Does that remark hold water for you?
It doesn't, and certainly not at this stage, for the simple reason, again, and I would refer to the case law that we have in World Online, that by having your name literally mentioned in a prospectus, you have an implied duty of care, and this also stretches or encompasses the content of the prospectus.
And finally, Doctor, before I let you go, what deadlines are we looking here at before you make your next move?
Yeah, we have given the banks a term of 2 weeks. We have asked them to reply by the 30th of April next, and thereupon, when this period has expired, under Dutch class action law, this is a matter of process law, we can file the legal proceedings, and we do that by issuing a writ of summons on these banks.
All right, that's where we leave it. Dr. Armand Kersten, the VEB's Head of Public Affairs, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.